ambitions hold significant power. Shape the future for you and me through the right decisions, policies, and leadership. They can either empower the young people, create barriers that will stifle our ambition and potential to be the best we can be. So, Mr. PM, what's going on? The more we try and try, we still staying down. You created an illusion, an imagination of a bright, prosperous, wealthy nation. Some call you a mama Gaia, I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer. We had plenty hope, but now we can't cope. You're a dream killer. You got the mental health while you busy gaining wealth. You're a dream killer. From the NEP, working for small money. You're a dream killer. You present a lot of things, we believed in you. Now our life passing by, nothing coming through. Made a lot of promises, fulfilling a few. Then it's big celebration for us to praise you.
Good to see you, girl.
We have a dream.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
Oh, our children have a dream.
I love tea.
So many sent overseas to study, especially those who support the party. Them workers were blue bags that their parents gave you the X. But every time Felicia come on Facebook Live, the thing she exposing makes me want to cry. And I wonder why you acting so sly and how my fears getting by. They say a promise is a comfort to a fool. Some cannot graduate, you don't pay the school. All we hear is excuses and more promises, while the students down on their knees. Some call you a big trickster, I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer. We had plenty hope, but now we can't cope. You're a dream killer. Disregard of mental health while you busy gaining wealth. You're a dream killer. Some in NEP working for small money. You're a dream killer. You present a lot of things, we believed in you. Now our life passing by, nothing coming through. It is so embarrassing while you there smiling. Baby debts are grumbling, the college waiting. Hey. Oh, Felicia had a dream. I have a dream. With hard work and determination, we can reach our destiny.
All right, folks. All right. Yes, it is 10 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock in Dominica and the rest of our region. Welcome to the program called Civic Vibes. That is, yes, today being the 1st of June, 2025.
Stuck in the cycle of
This one entitled Dream Killer from my friend Nashal.
limitation and overwhelming
I sang this one this year during our Calypso competition.
every day.
It's entitled Dream Killer.
He cannot provide for his family.
So yes, it's about that time when we get around that information table. That is a Civic Vibes information table for yet another Sunday.
Opportunity.
And so we want to welcome each and every one of you in a very, very special way at this time.
I call you a heartbreaker break.
Those of you are live on Facebook, those of you are live on YouTube, good afternoon to you in a very, very special way indeed from the Civic Vibes team.
We can't cope. You're a dream killer.
Welcome to the program called Civic Vibes. Yes, it's all about Civic Vibes indeed.
But every time
Two very powerful segments in just a bit. So all we ask is that you make yourself feel very, very comfortable at this time.
wonder why you acting so slack.
As you're about to listen to none other in the first segment than Miss Marceline Edwards.
They say a promise is a comfort.
Always doing something good for and on behalf of her country.
You don't pay this school.
And so this year is no different.
And more promises
In just a bit, you're going to hear from Mrs. Edwards
on their knees.
talking to us about an arts and craft expo.
I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer.
Very important event indeed.
But no, we can't cope. You're a dream
So all the necessary information coming up next. Read this expo
mental health
and none other than Mrs. Edwards to tell us all about it.
killer.
So we look forward to her in just a bit.
Working for small money. You're a dream.
And no stranger to Civic Vibes, the brother Zed Lloyd will be joining Alvin and I sometime later.
Believes in you. No, our life has
We'll have a very, very candid and special conversation re our country, Dominica, as we continue to defend our democracy.
heavy debts are grumbling. The college waiting.
So without saying much more, let me move across to the man himself, Mr. Alvin Thomas, for his opening remarks. Alvin, good evening to you, my brother.
Lofty, yes, Lofty. Good afternoon, my brother. Good to see you on another Sunday afternoon. It's the 1st of June, and we are quickly cruising into, continue to cruise into 2025, almost coming to the end of the first half of 2025. So it's a pleasure to be back this Sunday evening, and with all our folks who I see have already logged on. And in a special way to have this special lady with us this afternoon, Marceline Edwards. I mean, who doesn't know Marceline Edwards? That's a household name, you know. If somebody doesn't know Marceline Edwards, they're not listening, they're not in tune with social media. Huh?
They are not alive.
They're not alive. They must be dead. You need to resurrect. But it's really good to have Marceline. I listened to her yesterday on a program she had on Connecting the Dot. She and her team, very, very enlightening program, I must say. And I want to congratulate her on what she's doing for and on behalf of Dominica. And you know, Lefty, that is the thing, you know. We all have gifts and talents that we can give back to our country. And sometimes we're denied, sometimes we're misconstrued, sometimes we're misinterpreted. But that is what we're all about. We all want what is best for Dominica. And that is why we do what we do. It's not about us. It's about Dominica. So like everything else, we're happy to have Marceline here with us this afternoon. That will tell us a lot of what is going to happen in her neck of the wood very, very soon. And like you said, the rest of the program, we have Brother Zed Lloyd and another interesting conversation we need to have. Civic Vibe is about educating and informing the people. It's not about Beth. It's not about Roro. It's not about any one of those things. It's providing the information, having the conversation, and allowing folks to be able to contribute back. So really good to have you, Marceline, and to say to all our folks, as I said, who are already on board with us, a pleasant good evening. Sit back, relax, pull a glass, pull a drink, whatever you have, tea, coffee, wine, and let's just sit back and have a civil conversation, as I must say.
Yes, indeed. Alvin, thank you very much, my brother, for your opening remarks. And so, yes, again, I want to thank all of those who make it their duty, not just this Sunday, but every Sunday that we're on, to be part and parcel with us in terms of their company. So thank you very much indeed. Time will not permit us to go through your names this evening, but we know you're there, and we thank you profusely for that indeed. And so without saying, very little again, let me move across to Mrs. Edwards. Mrs. Edwards, good evening to you. No stranger to Civic Vibes. You're back here to talk to us re another very important event that you guys are putting on over there in terms of your further doing fun on behalf of your country, Dominica. How are you, Marceline?
Oh, Lofty, I am doing great. Thank you. And just being in your presence in Alvin's presence and hearing all of those accolades. Oh, of course, it makes me feel so good. So I am doing good. Yes, and I'm glad to be here, Lofty. So pleasant good evening to you and Alvin and the
Yes.
rest of the Civic Vibes crew, your listening audience in and out of Dominica, participants, fellow crafters, patrons, friends of the Dominica Diaspora Arts and Crafts Expo, my diaspora neighbors listening online, and my beautiful homeland, Dominica. I bring you warm greetings from my 767 platform here in New Jersey. And of course, I am your household product, Marcelin Edwards, no stranger. And I'm the founder of the Dominican Diaspora Arts and Crafts Expo, which is the only, I must say, only 767 cultural, economic, and social platform in North America. So again, Lofty, thank you for having me on this Civic Vibes platform to speak about this exciting upcoming fourth annual Dominican Diaspora Arts and Crafts Expo and Market Day with a difference.
Indeed, with a difference indeed. Marcelin, you have somebody
Yes.
in the name of Veronica Pascal is saying hi to you on the live feed. And I know others are saying hi as well. So you'd want to take that opportunity to,
Yes, yes. Hi, everybody. Hi, all the folks listening. A warm welcome to you guys. And I'm glad to be here again. Yes, Lofty. Yes, so thank you, Lofty. Thank you for inviting me to speak on this expo. It is a great event, great, beautiful event. It is exciting. I'm always excited to speak on this annual event. And of course, as I said, it's a market day with a difference. And this will be held on Saturday, June 7th at 767 Stuyvesant Avenue in Irvington, New Jersey. The official opening is at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. in the morning, but there will be an early breakfast sale from 7 a.m. in the morning. So if you want to come for your coffee or your cocoa tea and your bakes and saltfish, and maybe your stew bakanick and your green bananas, which is, I say it's a little specialty dish here.
Why is she doing that to us now,
You
Lofty?
can come for it.
Lofty, why is she doing that to us? I mean, she don't have to jam it here like
rub
that.
it in, yeah.
Rub it in. She's
But I want
rubbing
to,
it in, you know.
but I want to rub it in just like when I stew in the bakanick in the pot.
Yeah. I know.
So sorry, guys, it's not my fault, but you all can come. The platform is there, and you still have time to board a flight and come into Jersey. So I am inviting you guys. It's not too late. I see Loftus smiling like he's saying, yeah, for real, it's not too late. Yeah, so the official opening is at 10 a.m., but the breakfast will be early. And, as we all know, the expo is diverse and it has grown in leaps and bounds with our Dominican small business entrepreneurs. And why I say the small business entrepreneurs, it's because the fact remains that they have remained loyal, they have remained committed and dedicated to growing their brand. Most of the participants are, LLCs, and each with a different line of craftsmanship and a wide array of products. So y'all are not going to be disappointed. There are authors and paint artists and seamstresses and confectionery makers and business persons who have businesses not tangible to be sold at a table, but they are going to be here on this platform to promote their business since it is the most suitable platform where hundreds of Dominicans turn out to support. And we have a star-studded lineup on that day. And you have a live band. We're going to have a live band this time, the Impulse Band, straight out of Florida. We're going to have Jolly. We know Jolly. She was, I think, the first Calypso Queen of Dominica. DJ Polo. You all know DJ Polo. The Know Our Culture Group. The Dominica Houston Cultural Dance Group. And they are flying in from Houston to perform at the Expo. So that is, it's a big thing we are having. Then we have the accordion man, Mikael, and the Diaspora Jimping Band. We also have Wilworth Robin on the saxophone. Imagine we will be having some of the cultural songs played in sax this time around. So it's all gonna be good. And as I refer back to Franklin Moses, he said it's a star-studded lineup. So I am truly excited to speak on the big upcoming exposition since it holds such cultural significance. The Expo is what speaks to our identity here as Dominicans in North America. And as we converge on one economic, social, and cultural platform, it is indeed an economic, social, and cultural event. And of course, the nostalgia it evokes as we culminate in our artisan literature, musical, dance, food, and informative skill sets. It is just a lot that, people, supporters, friends, you all need to come to share the experience. We have the 767 Creations Cuisine. And of course, we know food plays a major part in the expo. You can't have an expo without food. Some people come to the expo just to taste the food from other cultures. So of course, we're going to have some great food. We had, unfortunately, the chef for the expo, he passed some time ago after a short stint of illness, but we are planning to carry on. And his food was good and everything else. So we are going to live up to the standards of the food, and it's a whole big happy family of crafters and music and food and arts and crafts. It is you all just need to come on down. And this expo has grown so much in terms of, it has just evolved. It has all dimensions to it, but it's we the people who can do it.
Yeah, we the people indeed.
We the people.
Yeah.
We the people.
Maslin, just before you delve a bit further in terms of information to us here, just give us a little sort of historical aspect or going back, as it were. When was that expo or that event conceptualized? How did it begin? Words to that effect. Just give us that kind of information, please.
Well, it was
to sort of put it into context.
This is something that was
and how long has it been running? Sorry.
Okay. Well, this is something that was born out of COVID-19. It was born in the pandemic era, and we had a lot of free time because everywhere was on lockdown. And we had to make use of our time. We had to make use of our skill sets, our mind, because there was just so much free time. And it came in the time when everybody was doing something, everybody was finding something to do, something to produce. And this is how the expo came about. It came about by just wanting to meet again, where we Dominicans meet again, because New Jersey is situated where we are used to having all sorts of cultural events. We had the Dominica, the Dominica Emerald Group, which I was part of. I was part of that group for 7 years, and that was the group that brought the Warp Duet to the platform in this part of North America. And because of my civic mindedness, I wanted something where we could all come out and be together again. And it was like you felt that kind of emptiness, that kind of void, that kind of loneliness, because you're wondering how many, who is there? And when we started just opening up, I said, I let me figure out how I can do this, because I missed my people. I missed Dominicans, because we were used to seeing, probably doing like a Saturday morning breakfast, or there were other groups as well. You had the Adnexus group, you had the Lapland group, you had all of those other groups, and you had the flag raising in Connecticut that I was always part of the Dominican group. So it's about just doing things together as Dominicans and sticking together. So that is what, why I created this expo, so that we Dominicans come together. And there was a need too, that, we don't know what each other is doing. We know where to find the Jamaican business, how to find the Trini business, the Indian business, and other groups who are here. And there's no Dominican business here where you can go and just come up with something Dominican, a Dominican store somewhere, Dominican. We have nothing here. And look at so many years we are here as a people. So where is our identity? What is bringing us together? Where is the cohesiveness? What is keeping us together? So I thought of the expo, and once I put it out, then Percy started calling. And the first expo, there were 19 participants. And believe you me, I was blown away with the 19, because I didn't know that there were Dominicans who had such creativity, who had such ambitions, who could do things like that. Imagine we have a crafter who makes like deodorants and stuff like that. And the other night she was given a little breakdown as to the ingredients in the that she uses in the roll-on. And then she said that she uses toloma as part of the ingredients. And the only thing I know about toloma is when you make the toloma for you to, and when you start something with it. But here it is, she's using it in the roll-on. So I said, how do you do that? I didn't know you could do that. And other crafters who do, who make sauces, and there's a lot of things Dominicans are doing. You have authors, persons who are just writing books, persons who are doing a lot, seamstresses. That was how my 767 creations, my sewing business came about, is because of the expo. And that expo came from COVID-19, the ideas of COVID-19 that came into fruition, and the need to brand ourselves. And hopefully we can set up a database where we know where to find each other in terms of business, and we can take it forward at a higher level.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much, Marceline, for going back, as it were, giving us the genesis of where that wonderful idea, and now it has been playing out right before our very eyes in real time. Alvin, your thoughts?
No, well, again, let me compliment Marceline for a great initiative. And from what you've just described, it is a win-win for everyone, win-win for the crafters, for what we do for Dominica, and the persons who will come and benefit from that. You said when you started, you had 19, and that was, I take it, what, 2020, 2019? What year was that?
In 2021.
2021, so you had 19. And what does the numbers look like today? Or how many you think you might have today?
Well, the numbers are still very strong, because in the second year we had about 28. The third year we had about 32, but the numbers are still strong. But we are a bit more diverse this year, because we have added, with the health section. When we first started, there was no, the health section to it. It was just diasporans coming together and, to market their books and their what have you. But I don't like boredom. And I believe in, in evolving. I believe in change. And because of that, I added a few things. In the second year, I added the nurses' corner. So then you had the nurses who came on board and to do the pressure checks and the pep talks and the what have you, because I realized that this is a great platform to do that. Since there are so many Dominicans, converging on that one platform. And we know that hypertension and diabetes is something that is prevalent among our Dominican people. So why not bring the diaspora nurses? Bring our Dominican nurses. They are also Dominican nurses. So what I'm trying to do is to bring in every aspect of Dominicans who are doing something. Just bring in all. The only thing that is, we are apolitical. I don't care what background you come from. I don't care what party you support. And as long as you have a craft, as long as you can bring your skill set, you can bring your ideas to the expo, and let's have a Dominican good time, like real Dominicans.
Indeed. Theodora Anthony is basically adding to your input, your Marceline, and she's saying here as part of a testament that yes, we the crafters are getting the goodies ready. Preparation is in high gear, she said. Westville delicacies will be there for sure with cocoa, cassava, simos, and your favorite cocoa punch and lots more at that expo. So that is at least one of the things from Theodora and company that the people there can look forward to. Thank you, Theodora, for your comments.
Let me ask again, Marceline, in terms of, like Theodora just spoke about cassava and CMOS and all that good stuff. Where is ingredient source? Where do they source those ingredients?
Well, there you go. I was just going to talk about that.
Okay.
Well, the expo in itself, is to also to foster an economic bridge between Dominica, the small business enterprise here in North America, and the small businesses in Dominica. Most of the products or the raw material that is used, in production here, we must get it from Dominica because we don't produce cocoa here.
Right.
And a lot of things we don't produce here. You get it back from Dominica. And some of the work as well is outsourced in Dominica because when I have a lot of material, a lot of things to sew, then I outsource my work to a seamstress here because the seamstresses here, they don't get about, what we are trying to do when we talk about making a warm duet. Because when they see with them, they say, what is that? What costume is that? Can I get one? They think it's a costume you can get for you to just parade every day. And you say, no, this has sentimental value and meaning. It is our national wear, and it cannot be worn by just any culture just wanting to wear it because they find that they would want to wear something like that. Right. So I don't know if other persons would want to do it like make a warp duet for a non-Dominican national to just wear like that. But I don't think as a Dominican and knowing how I value my national pride, I don't think I would do something like that.
Right.
So this, as I said, is to foster an economic bridge, because what we want to do is like to assist in Dominica, source our products in Dominica where we get the raw material, so everybody will benefit. The small businesses in Dominica, the farmers, the shops, everybody can benefit. It is not our intention to source the products, the raw material elsewhere. Although there are some limitations in sourcing some of the raw material from Dominica's end, but hopefully, we can navigate. You can find a way to navigate through that to make it, easier, because we have had situations where our crafter, she got some bush from Dominica and it was sent to her through FedEx. Although it was dried and labeled, but a route to her, FedEx confiscated it. They said they could not deliver it. And to bring up the breadfruit, last year one of the crafters had roasted breadfruit and bread nut and other things, sweet potatoes and what have you. And it was a whole rigmarole to get that into the US. Imagine they have to send the breadfruit into St. Thomas, take a flight and go to St. Thomas to pick up the roasted breadfruit, and then to come back here. And so by the time you do all of that, then what kind of profit are you going to realize? You're not going to realize much profit. So hopefully all of that can change, and promises were made, and hopefully the persons who made those promises, persons within the Ministry of Agriculture, can keep those promises, and we can do something better, because there is the need for it. There's the market for it. The herbs that we have,
can you, Marceline, give us an idea of the promises that were made by the ministry, you said?
Well, the airline, the person, checked American Airline because she was told to speak to American Airlines. But American Airline is saying that persons from American Airlines are saying that they do not have, cold storage, like refrigeration facility at the Melvin Hall Airport.
Oh, okay.
And when that was communicated to someone in the Ministry of Agriculture, what they said, yes, we do have storage, but but this is something that we can look at in the near future. And
Okay.
Jody. So the crafter the crafter the crafter thing, that is what you call dream killers, because here it is, she has the license, and she's licensed to bring in quite a number of things, and she can bring in those things because it's difficult to bring them in. But
Interesting.
with the advent of the street flights from Newark Liberty into Dominica, then hopefully it will ease some of, but I don't think it will do all of it,
All
because
of it.
it's not a cargo. It's the flight is a commercial flight, is not meant for cargo.
Yeah.
But the last time I was in Dominica, I was being able to peel, up $20-30 worth of dashing, pack it in Ziploc bags, and pack it in my suitcase. And so I came up with a whole suitcase of dashing.
Okay. So
And
basically, you are waiting on
yes,
some of the promises to be fulfilled by the parties
yes, some
concerned.
of the promises to be fulfilled, because there's a lot, the small, the farmers can make money, from this expo, because this is what it was meant to do. Person should not be going to St. Vincent to get cocoa beans, and going to Florida to get breadfruit, where the breadfruit is coming from Jamaica. You want to do business with Dominica. You want Dominica to benefit, because it's a 767
True. True.
enterprise
Arrangement. Yeah.
and business. So that's
On
what
that
we
note, yeah.
encourage.
Yeah, true. On that note, Marceline, we have another person here in terms of, the promise at the expo. Fanelia Lawrence Keynes is saying here, Nelius Flair will be there with the natural deodorants. You spoke of deodorant earlier.
Yes.
Safe for adults and children. That person is adding here.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, Marcel is so correct with regards to the food. I mean, I'm in Atlanta, and recently I bought some breadfruit because it's difficult to get it. And sometimes you get the ones that are not well maturité, as they say. And Jamaica is packaging. I'm not sure if they're doing it in the US out of Jamaica, but I was able to buy some packaged slices of roasted breadfruit in a packet. Maybe about 6 slices for the most, 7. $8.99 for the pack. I was at a friend home over the Memorial Weekend, and we were talking about the same thing, produce, and he said, man, I can get bread nut, on Gwenpe. I said, where are you getting at Gwenpe? He went in his pantry and he brought up a canned bread nut. I'm not sure where it came from. I tell him, dude, that's not the same bread nut. But you're right. There's opportunity for all of that, and it has to be a win-win. And hoping one day that some of those produce can leave Dominica in a much more easier way for persons like yourself and all of us in North America who enjoy that. But let me ask you, Marceline, I know the Expo is pretty young, given when it started. Where do you see this going? 5 years, 4, 5 years, 3 years from now? Because, I mean, yes, it's in New Jersey, but based on what the reviews I'm hearing about this Expo, I can see this something that's going to move to some of the other metropolitan cities like Atlanta, Texas, Miami. I mean, it will take some doing, of course, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, tell us where you see this vision, because I know you're a woman of vision. Take this thing.
I don't like boredom. Well, this is in the future, to take it outside of Jersey, take it to other states. This is in the future. And I was also invited to do an expo in Dominica, and because I said, in Dominica. He says, yeah, why don't you come to Dominica and do an expo? Expos are being done in Dominica, but it's not being done on the classy level in which you do it. I say, but what do you consider to be a classy level? So that's what they say. But I do things, but I like things done a certain way. And that's what I continue to do. persons are still asking for, for a double. And up to yesterday, one of the crafters were asking that, maybe we should do it like, Saturday and Sunday, 2 days instead of 1 day, or do it later down in the year. But it takes a lot of hard work. When you see the expo presented, that is not all.
I know.
People see the finished product, people see the finished work, but it is a lot of hard work. And I do not have an executive to put the expo together. I am literally doing this by myself. As a matter of fact, I almost could not do the expo this year because I lost my dad. I lost my dad in February. And the only reason I did it is because I had already put out the date. And even when, the situation changed, things were in limbo and what have you. But what I did, because I don't like to make promises that I don't keep. So I said, you know what? It's not about me. I can't be setting a precedent. I'm doing the expo every other year. So I came on board and did the expo. But I was discouraged. My husband was telling me, I don't think you should do this expo and what have you. I said, but what I'm going to do, I've already, committed to it. I already put out the date. Persons have been crafting all year. What I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to go ahead with it and what have you. So once I got on Steam, then I made the contacts and I got it going. But it's a lot of hard work crammed into the short space of time that we have. And this to get this and to do this, it's just hard. I imagine DBS Radio will be covering it live from our platform this year. I think Mr. Nigel Francis is going to be at the expo this year. So, it's a lot of things that are being, put in place to have that working to connect with all the other groups. Because everybody who is carded to attend, including the crafters, I have personally spoken to every one of them. So it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of, if you like to sleep, to see you dormi, you cannot do that. If you always tired, upasafesa, you have to really, really go for it. And you know who gave me the zeal to go? The crafters. The crafters, I know they want this and they're going for it and they will do it by all means. So sometimes when you call 2 o'clock in the morning, we have a group chat. When you say, who is up with me? Crafters said, I am. Persons are there crafting, persons are there doing, persons are preparing for this big day. And that is why we're encouraging all Dominicans to turn out. And if we do this together, because we see the expo growing in leaps and bounds, we see the expo, being that base where it's not just, a lot of footwork on that day and people come to sell their products, but we are forging new relationships. We are forging new businesses. New business ideas emerge from the expo. When I first thought about that expo, I did not have a table the first time. I just wanted to manage the expo, just do what I have to do. But someone saw my work, they asked, can you make a skirt for me? And I did it. And then she said, you mean you did not participate in the expo and you can sew so well? Yes, I do sew. I could sew since before, since at home, but I didn't see the need for me to do all of that. And then once then I wanted to present a particular thingy for the expo. But when persons started asking me for different things, I said, oh, I have to go with what the people want. So what I am presenting is more or less what the people want. And this is why the platform is open for persons to advertise. This year we have Kathy Robinson, who is a wellness and well-being and transformation coach, and who is a qualified business risk and assessment and process development consultant person. So yes, so this is good for the business because there are some entrepreneurs who have it finding difficulties to export to certain countries, and she's good in that area, so she will tell them how to go about it. So this is why we just include all of those persons, and of course an insurance corner, because we have to talk about life issues. You cannot be always calling to set up a GoFundMe for burials and stuff like that. So this time around, we are doing like we're not really, there's not a ticketing system, but this time around, we are asking persons when they come in, there will be a cover charge at the door. So come ready, for cover charge. The cover charge is between $10 to $15. This, you know, because you have a whole live band, you have all the various groups and all the performers and the entertainers. Because it's not that we like SIWO, but this is also part of the culture. It's about the music, it is about the food, it's about our arts and crafts, it's about everything. It's a culminative event where we can just come together and just
bring
Dominica.
everything together. Thank you very much, Marceline. We are basically out of time, 6:45. Let's just take that ad from you in terms of Franklin's voice now, and then
yes,
we'll come back for your closing comments. As
yes,
it
thank you. Thank you.
It's another massive Dominica Dance for Arts and Craft 4th Annual Expo, exploding into robust mushroom clouds of highly creative artists, highly gifted crafts, and highly insightful authors, each with an elevated sense of international excellence and national pride. Discoveries, recoveries, and innovation. 767 Stuyvesant Avenue, Irvington, New Jersey. Saturday, June 7th, a giant melting pot of culture, music, arts, generous, delicious foods, literature, and heritage. A celebration of amplified legendary entertainment, stimulating, informative, and enlightening. Don't miss this super star-studded lineup. Intriguing Jolly, Ecstatic Impulse Band, Houston Association Dancers, Symphonic Accordion Champion, Mikhail, talented saxman Wilworth Robin, 767 Jinping, 767 Cuisine, the indomitable DJ Polo, and Know Your Culture. All in one day, one place, 1 week, one big event in one big West Indian authentic arena. Saturday, June 7th. Don't miss the 4th annual Dominica Dance for Arts and Craft Expo. Gold sponsors M&J Development Services, 973-851-6638. For all the construction solutions. Olive Trees Synergies LLC, Getaway Holistics, 917-283-7892. For wellness and well-being transformation, business risk, and process development consultation. Women's Smoke Meat, 845-232-6202 or 380-2798. And Marceline Edwards, 862-248-9758 for more clarity and information.
Tutsanu Nisi Sao, indeed. Marceline, basically, that ad basically said in a nutshell what you alluded to earlier. Your final or parting comments, please, as we must make way for the next segment in just a bit.
Yes, I see one of my patrons here, Zed Lloyd. Good afternoon. Zed is my
Good afternoon, sis.
Zed is my support man. Zed is always helping. So Zed, I am still waiting for you. You don't know the deal. So yeah, so all I want to say to all Dominicans hearing my voice, come out to support this Dominican trade fair. That is what is going to serve us in the future. We just have to be in the collective. Unite. Let's come together. Let's brand ourselves. This is our own. Come out, come and support. And all of the crafters are waiting. They have, some great products. We have authors as well who are going to be here. So it's about everything together. Arts and crafts, we impart knowledge, the music, the culture, the food, everything is just so good. Come with our Kudme spirit, come with our, and let's celebrate with the nostalgia that it brings. It, because, just hearing the cultural songs and, we just think of what, it used to be like in Dominica, because we can't forget our homeland. We are here as a people, but we are still Dominicans, no matter how long we stay out of home, but Dominica is still home. So, and, our Dominican people are our asset. We have great craft, we have ambitions, we have everything. So just come out and support. And it's one love our people. I will see you guys on Saturday, June 7th. Come early for the breakfast. I will be saving Loftus and Mr. Alvin's breakfast for him.
Oh, please.
On that day. So shop all the cocoa tea and all your bakes.
Oh, please, Marceline. Oh, please. Let me, before Marceline go to Lofty, let me just say very quickly, plug in for the Impulse Band. I heard you say the Impulse Band will be there with them this year. Yes. And let me tell you, these guys are phenomenal. We've had them for the last 3 years perform for us in Atlanta for Memorial Carnival. I'm part of a group that put together an old school jam the Friday before the carnival. And they performed for us for the last 3 years, this more recently again. And let me tell you, it's a blast. So you guys going to have a real good time with Impulse Band. I just wanted to plug that in there. Yeah.
All right, my brother. Thank you for the plug in, as it were. Marceline, thank you very much. And we
Thank
at
you,
Civic
Rocky.
Vibes.
Thank you. God bless.
Yeah,
God bless.
Marceline, all the
We
best.
wish
and
the
love.
event well indeed.
Peace out. Thank
Yes.
you.
Marceline spoke about 767. This one from the WCK did back in the days, entitled 767. The man, Mr. Deli and crew, good evening to you.
See how them I get done. See, can we go get some? You want some? Come get some. Okay. You're coming now. Watch me now. Okay. Yes, I. Hey. Who the music play? 767. La Boca Way. 767. WCK. 767. We represent.
I can't be talking about WCK and don't mention the brother Ra, the doctor himself.
Here we go.
The Booyah Pioneer. Good evening to you, bro.
Sweet home back in time for the bacchanal.
And all the trailblazers of this much important band, the WCK band.
United in some people celebrated. Local and foreign they gathering. Our cultural heritage and a whole new page.
It's all about our culture here this evening. As Marceline Edwards alluded to earlier, this Expo coming up this Saturday from, some 10 o'clock thereabout, and a breakfast before. So if you want to know much more about that much important expo taking place called Marceline Edwards, and all the crafters who will be at this event, I wish you guys very, very well indeed. Folks, about 1 more minute of that song, and we're going to turn to a much more serious conversation indeed about our country, Dominica. And so the man Zed Lloyd is here already, seated and ready to go. And you know, once Zed Lloyd is in the house, then it's serious business up ahead. To all our people who's listening and watching us on YouTube as well, Brother Cuthbert, Joseph, Marlin, Shillingford, and crew, good evening to you.
767. That's it. I'm in Dominica. I'm in Kipanera. That is the pressure. Jump that I see. Everybody. Something that's thinking, baby.
767 indeed. What a powerful track indeed from the WCK band. Folks, yes, let's get back to master control, as it were, in terms of the continuation of our programming here. Let me say good evening to Brother Zed Lloyd. Zed Lloyd, no stranger to Civic Vibes. A special good evening to you from Alvin and myself and the crew.
Good evening, brothers. Good evening. Good evening.
Well, Zed, you're looking like a professor in somewhere. Are you in space, brother? Reporting down to us this evening. Are you in space? You look space-like.
Well, we tried to organize the studio thing, and giving it a try, see if it would work, and trying to take it to the next level.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that trial. So far, so good. A little tweaking to do, but so far, so good.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Alvin is lifting his finger like a student in the class. So
I've just been very observant. Zed comes from the same alma mater that I come from. So I'm never at loss or surprise. We refer to ourselves as the smartest men alive. That's the acronym for SMA, the smartest men alive. So, I know DJs and other folks don't like to hear that sometimes, but that's who we are. So You know, anything from ZE, I know. I can relate to it.
We try, you know. We try. You know. We represent, you know, Brother G, 24/7. You know what I mean? 24/7. Yeah, Lofty.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. We are here with you, hearing you loud and
You
clear.
know,
Yes.
Brother Alvin, you know.
Yes.
I think today, yeah, today's a serious day in Dominica, man. It's a serious day. I listened to a blog earlier on today with from Barbados. And you know, interesting, we have Dominican comments, and a part that really hit me really hard, and you know, I mean, it was like, it really was sad in a way. Hard and sad was when there was this reference to that Dominicans are really dissatisfied with me, and we really want a different thing and want to send a message. And then the commentator said, are there any kind of protest planned in the country? You know, is there anything going to challenge me? And the answer was no. And that was really sad. It was a sad moment, you know. It reminded me of where we are as a country, you know. We talk a lot about the political process, Alvin, but the civic process is dead in the country, you know.
No, you're right. You're right, Zed. You're absolutely correct. And you're absolutely correct on that. And that is the like you say, it's a sad moment. But, and I'm saying that but very cautiously, I think it is something we must continue to advocate for. And I firmly believe it will take its place one day. Let me just say, for example, you know, in terms of what you call it, again, let me, if I may use the SMA. The SMA was founded in 1932, I think. 1932, I believe the school was founded. And it did not take until 41 years later, 1973, 74, when a couple of us young men decided, hey, while we understand what was the reasoning or the objective for starting the St. Mary's Academy for underprivileged kids and all of that, we believe where it was back, where it came to be in 1973, 74, thereabout, there was need for some serious and drastic change. And that change came about. The rest is history. There's no need to go in it. So I believe similarly, at some point, that civic engagement is going to take place. If you ask me how long, the question somebody posed, well, Alvin, when is that going to happen? How long do we have to wait for it to happen? I do not have an answer. But what I do know, it will happen. It's inevitable. At the rate at which things are going, it is inevitable. It's going to happen. And therefore, the work that Civic Vibes is doing, Lofty, yourself, myself, and several other persons, must continue. It must not stop. And that is where I believe sometimes we get a little disheartened when we, you know, see where things are and we say, boy, how much longer can I do that? I think I'm going to throw in the towel. Human nature drives us into that mindset. But we have, as quickly as we get into it, we have to pull ourselves back out of it and say, look, yeah, the fight must go on.
Well, the only thing that's keeping me going is, you know, as an activist, I mean, I know that without an active consciousness on the ground, there is no activism, you know? And so we're doing this mobile and this, you know, online and all of that stuff, and it's all good, but from experience, we know how these things work, you know? And so that is the sad part about it. That's the sad part about it for me, you know, because I know how it works. And it works when you have civic organization on the ground that's active and popular, and those are the basic things it's need, even in a polarized society. And the critical thing is, the civic component is easier in a polarized society than the political component. And so we keep taking the hardest road. You know, we don't choose paths of least resistance. I don't know how we're going to pull this off if we don't choose paths of least resistance. So that is what is hard for me to digest. You know, it's difficult for me to digest that because, you know, I mean, you know, when you study these things and you know these things and no struggle, you know that the easiest path to dealing with those kinds of conditions that we have in Dominica is the civic path. Because the civic path allows people from different sides to coalesce.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't happen on the political front. And we keep talking about the opposition. The opposition has its part to play. But in a less polarized society, a more intellectualized society, you know, it could work to a certain extent. But given the realities we have on the ground, the political process is the most difficult process, you know? And so some of us have to make that sacrifice. You know, it's we need sectoral people. You know, we have the movement in one segment. There is a whole sector of the society that's not involved. There's a whole economic society of the sector of the society that's not involved. You can't have successful struggle with those sectors not involved in the struggle. You know, those are fundamental untruths about struggle. You know, the youth, there is no sense of activism to the youth, and people go, well, you have to bring CO, you have to bring them things. You don't have to bring them things, bro. You don't have to bring them things. You have to talk the youth language. You see it, you have to talk the youth language. You study it all across the world. You know, but we keep talking that political language. You cannot infiltrate that movement from a political language. We keep talking that skerritt language. You can't infiltrate that movement from that skerritt language. You know, we have some fundamental issues of bread and butter, and we don't have a collective of minds as to how do we exploit these bread and butter issues. That is what is going to capture the youth. That's standard struggle. That's blueprint, you know? That's blueprint. You understand? Look at the issue of work, man. Dominica has $1 billion project, and how much $100,000 project. And the money is not coming for the people, for the youth, for the young, it's not coming. Why don't we have an issue around this? You know, why don't we talk about making sure a certain number of people are employed on the jobs? You don't have to have a scary argument for that. You don't have to have a political argument. You have to have a survivalist argument. That is what is going to move these young people. You understand? We take issues and we just run and move to the next one and the next one. There is no cohesive sense of issue and manipulation of structure in those things to create struggle. Things don't happen that way. Things don't happen that way. You know, CCM as a group is practically non-functional. People have become, you know, typewriter keys, you know. It's dead. I'm trying to be tempered, you know, because, you know, I'm not there and tell you the truth, bro. I'm counting those days. I'm telling you, because it's frustrating. The amount of issues that are in the country, bro, there should not be an issue of waiting on the opposition to find solution to the problems in Dominica. It shouldn't be. You understand? It shouldn't be. You know, there's no sense of meeting important people. There's no sense of engaging the economic sector. There's no sense of it, man. Yeah, Lofty, go ahead, man.
No, I mean, Zed, go ahead, Lofty. Lofty, go ahead.
Go ahead, Alvin. Go ahead.
No, I mean, Zed is on the money. He's right. He's absolutely right. And maybe, how should I put it? We need to get on the drawing board, and he's right. It's far beyond a political thing. I mean, if I may give two quick examples. I just had the benefit of reading a report issued by the DAIC for the first quarter of this year. And the report is very bleak. Very short report. They ran a survey of the state of business in Dominica and what is going on and looking at various factors, employment, productivity, um, hiring of persons. You know, they looked at several gamuts of things. And it is bleak. I mean, it is bleak. There isn't any sense of optimism in it. That was for the first quarter of this year. And they had certain recommendations ahead of the second quarter, which hopefully will end at the end of June. So the first quarter was January through March, and then April, May, June will be the second quarter. And they made a whole list of recommendations, several areas that would require intervention by government. But it is a bleak report. Then, of course, a couple of days ago, we had a statement issued by the Bar Association as it related to the March 19th. I mean, some of us may feel, well, the bar didn't go as far enough, or the bar waited too long to say something. But again, that's besides the point. They have said something. And in the final paragraph of their statement, they pretty much said, look, guys, we want to engage. That's an opportunity. That's an opportunity there. How do we now engage with the Bar Association? Every one of them, they are officers of the court. As we speak now, we have a matter before the court, legal matter. And that's another issue we have to find a way to discuss, because it seems to me that in the democracy as it obtains now, where there should be a judiciary, a legislature, and an executive, everything seems to be blurred. So Zed is right. We got to bring other folks to the table. We got to find a way to engage them. We got to find a way to get in the dialogue. So how do we engage the Bar Association to deal and discuss the matter of rule of law in the country and violation of our constitution? And how do we engage the DIC in a conversation to say, well, hey guys, you raise certain issues as it affects the business sectors. How do we engage in that? And to what extent it impact the young people or the country as a whole? So there is enough issues around that can activate that civic engagement that we need to have. And not necessarily saying, well, oh, the opposition party, as we know it, quote unquote, is not doing, and purely look at it from a political standpoint. So it is there. We just have to find a way to harness it. And he's so right. I mean, if we feel, as we feel so strongly about the chairman of CARICOM, and I refer to that as the chairman, you know, I'm not referring to her coming here. I will continue to refer to her as the chairman of CARICOM coming in.
Alvin, just before you go to the chairman,
if we feel so strongly about that, why is there not even one protest?
Lockie, you were saying something?
But
I was telling Alvin, just before you go to the chairman of CARICOM, Zed, you basically lay as foundation for the conversation that we're about to have tonight, a very serious and critical issue. And you basically said the bread and butter issues in Dominica that should take front and center stage as it relates to our plight in this country, but it is not. And Zed, like you, I speak my mind. And I have been in that struggle, Zed, for a number of years. And I can tell you, Zed, we have a lot of people who are very self-centered. These people are very greedy, I should say, politically speaking. So that these people are watching their positions with laser beam eyes, as it were. That they don't want anybody to trespass. They don't want anybody to be in that space, in that political space that they are quote unquote enjoying, even whilst in a position. And so if that kind of conversation, Zed, that you're talking about would open up, it would now put some of them in not so prominent a position as it relates to the opposition. And I'm talking about the opposition forces. Zed, I'm on the ground. I am on the ground, my brother. And I have a good sense. I have a good handle on what it is that is plaguing us as a people now in Dominica as it relates to our forward movement where growth and development is concerned. That the amount of issues we have in Dominica that are affecting us in the negative, and that is the masses I'm talking about. What you are alluding to in terms of people coming together, crafting a strategy or ways to deal with these issues, it cannot be taken from the political spectrum, no. Because we know when we dive into the political realm, it is this versus that, he versus her, I versus this person, and it cannot be, it should not. Yeah. So if we take it out, as you're saying, from this political, pivotal realm, where people now will look at their daily survival, because that is what it boils down to in this country, Zed. People are struggling to make ends meet in this country, and our very survival is at stake. And when we hear people do certain things in terms of trying to counterattack now, trying to live in this country, some of us, we are amazed, but we should not be amazed. Because at the end of the day, it is said, he who is in the kitchen feels the heat. And some people have been feeling the heat for some time. Some people on the verge of being burnt, economically speaking. And we are there as opposition, we say, supposed to oppose, supposed to propose, and then have the people reposing us. What are we doing? And again, I come back, people are sort of making their bed, their political bed. And if you come to, mess with that, you will get that sort of rejection, that sort of, cold shoulder. And that is one of our problems, Ed. We have become a people who are very greedy, Greedy. And as a result of that, we will not let anybody come close to even speaking about opening up the conversation now, so that the majority of us could add our voices, the majority of us could be beneficiaries thereof of the good when that good comes about. And I cannot say it any better, Zed. That is the crux of our problem. And unless and until we move away from that kind of a myopic mindset, is me, myself, and I and my shadow, we ain't going nowhere. And so I am very glad that you sort of cast it in concrete that the conversation needs to move away from that political prism. And we now need to open up that conversation. Let the ordinary man and woman feel comfortable about speaking about the things that affect us. And so I am not knocking what Alvin and I have been preaching for years in terms of free and fair election and electoral reform. But then at the end of the day, electoral reform cannot fool somebody's belly when they're hungry. And that is a fact. Go on the ground today. Are you going to tell anybody in whatever village, I don't want to be discriminative here, about free and fair elections when they have a couple pairs of eyes looking at them that are hungry and needs to be fed? No. We now need to attend to the plight of the people, address their plight. And that is the bread and butter issues. That is what these people are all about, at least for now. I'll give a chance to come in. When we deal with that, or attempt to deal with that rather, and these people can see, but you know something? These guys, they are talking our language. They are bringing us, they are taking us up from somewhere where we are now, and they're offering us somewhere that we can see, we can relate. That is where you're going to get these people's energies and talents and whatever it is to merge with ours and make it happen. And so that one track political diatribe we have been on, it has not worked, it cannot work, and it will not work. And so we now have to make that 180-degree turn and say to ourselves, be humble enough and accept our mistakes. And those of us who are on these quote-unquote politically high horses, we need to come down. If we choose not to come down, we need to be taken down and let the country breathe. I am saying the same way we are hauling at scary. Let the country breathe. We ourselves need to do some deep self-introspection and say to ourselves, we need to let the country breathe as well in our own little way so that the greater good can come on board, can synchronize the efforts with us, because we will not be talking to them, but we will be talking with them. I pause for now.
And Lofty, you know what's interesting is the civic process makes the political process easier. I mean, the reason why we haven't gotten anything in Dominica is because we don't have a civic process. That's why we haven't gotten anything, That's why we have gotten disrespected electorally. That's why we've gotten disrespected on electoral reform. That's why we've gotten disrespected on this and disrespected because we do not have a civic process. We go to electoral reform, Lofty. We don't even talk about a date, a fixed date for elections. That was not even on the table. Because why? We allowed an electoral process to define the electoral reform process. An electoral reform process is a process of liberation for the citizenry, Lofty. For the citizenry, not for a political party, for the citizenry. It is the opportunity for the citizenry to take control of the politician, to reverse the original British concept of trusting politicians, where we now as the citizenry in an independent movement have more control of the politician. That is what electoral reform is, Lofty. An empowerment of citizenry over the political process. And how did we go about it? We put it in the hands of political parties. We back to front 24/7 in Dominica. There's no objective discussion. It's crazy. And if you deal with the civic process, the political process becomes easier. Once you start from the political process, you're in a polarized society. You're in trouble with your conversation. And so you have to do constructive analysis. If you're going to find a solution, you must apply the scientific process. What do we have in Dominica? An over-polarized society. What are the solution processes? Politics cannot be the primary because it's telling you you're going to face resistance. You're not going to have a high impact, and you're looking for high impact. So you have to sit down and draft a different approach to the situation that you have. That's struggle. That's how you do struggle.
Zed, many moons ago, many moons ago, when I headed this movement, this CCM movement, we at the movement, we brought in a guy from Antigua in the name of Mr. Anthony Stewart, who did the groundwork for not he alone, but he and his colleagues over there. They did the groundwork for where Antigua is today as it relates to the elections, the electoral process. So we brought him in here to sort of guide us as to what we should do in Dominica to get this process off the ground, as you say, in the interest of the citizenry. You know what this brother told us? And it stayed with me. The brother told us that alongside these electoral issues, we need to plug in with that. For example, one of the issues after speaking with him and he got a sense of where Dominica is at economically, he said, you guys need to twin with that electoral talk, the minimum wage. And why did he say that? He said, because in the minds of the ordinary people, the electoral conversation is to fix the politics and, whatever, make it free and fair. That is fine. But what will appeal to the base, the masses, it is being able to meet their needs economically, that is, by having that minimum wage of $4.05 increased to something else, something extra. And so he said, you're going to get a bigger pool of people helping you push that electoral talk, because they know at the end of it, they will have some kind of interest, some kind of benefit at the end of the day.
Classic,
and so I said that on a number of times, but who listened? And so for 15 more years now, we are on this road struggling to get off the ground by not listening. And should I say, again, it comes back to the one-tracked mind that we have been, trotting on for so long. Who in Dominica said at this present time would not want an increase in salary? Who? And so that was the basic common sense, rational reasoning that the brother was pushing.
And see Antigua.
But who listened? Practically nobody listened. And so after 15 years, we are where we are with what Roosevelt passed as his electoral, whatever it is. As you said, there's no fixed date for an election. How could we be modernizing something in this era? And our quote-unquote intellectual, our political gurus did not plug in there a fixed date for elections to make the same process free and fairer. I am submitting it is because of that same sort of greedy posture that some people would want to swim in. If they get there, they would still want to manipulate the process in such that they would want to have that date in the back pocket. So what they are crucifying Roosevelt about now, which he needs crucifixion, they would want to be part and part of the spoils, the political spoils. And it cannot be right. And so again, it is a matter of we as a Dominican people coming together to do what needs to be done. But that what you're talking to, that it needs leadership. Everything falls on or rise and falls on leadership. And so we now have to look in different directions. The people we looked up to as Lord and Saviors or masters of our mission, our destination, we have to look elsewhere, because for pretty close to 30 years, Zed, imagine in 2000, Labour Party came as a government with what's his name? Ruzi. Zed, 25 years after, if you had a child, you in 2000, that child would be a full-blown adult, ready to get married and move on. That is how it is, the fact of the matter. Any young person you talk to now, Zed, they don't know anything other than labor. That's how I can say it. That's what it is. And so the politics of yesteryear, it has to change. And when we hear some of our talk, when we hear some people talk in this country, it is like as if, well, we are running an election again in 2000. No, that cannot work. The political paradigm must be shifted. We must go in a different direction. We must take a different route. And the people that can cut it, it is the younger generation, Zed. It is the people that know nothing more than labor. Labor pains, I must add. So it is the 40s and under. That is our targeted generation. We should target at this time. The 18s, the 16s to at least 40, 45. That is the age range, because these people know nothing more, Alvin, than labor. Yeah. And so our conversation, as Zed said a while ago, it must be tweaked
But you made a
to sound like music in the ears.
You made a fundamental point there. You mentioned the word leadership is lacking. And we need to seek elsewhere for that leadership, if I understand you clearly. Let's speak to that a little, because all what you say there and you identify, I mean, we are aware of that. We do that program every Sunday. Zed's aware of it, and I'm sure some for folks listening and with us there on the platform. But you made a very, in all what you said, you said there seems to be a lack of leadership.
You mind if I address that, Alvin?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. I will respond to Alvin after.
Yeah. You see, one of the mistakes we've been making in Dominica as a micro-sized society is we think of leadership in singularity. You know, but singularity is a political conversation, you know. Leadership in civic society is not a singularity conversation. And it is because we have not been having a civic conversation while we are caught up in the singularity of leadership when we speak in Dominica. You see, right now we're like a petition society. This thing is talking one particular sector, a certain segment of the society. We have a whole entire segments of the society that is not involved in this movement, just not involved. And it's because we look at leadership in singularized forms. But when you look at things from a civic perspective, you don't see leadership in singularized forms. You see leadership as a collective. And it is as a collective that different elements of leadership will grow. And the political apparatus need not worry about these things as threats. And that's what happens in Dominica. People take things as threats very easily, not realizing if the civic movement works, it makes your political process easier. It makes it easier. For instance, you have a strong civic movement. All the political process has to come through now is a portfolio that answers the civic problem. It sets it up for you. You understand? So they're not antagonists to each other. They can be a collective, but you know, they have that symbiosity about them if you know how to utilize it. So when you agitate civic, solution politic. That's classic struggle. You understand? They don't have to be contagious to each other. You understand? So the political process has to be a response to the civic process, your portfolios, your plans, your whatever. So now you don't have to worry about talking about scary. You don't have to worry talking about things that you already digest. No. Let's deal with those issues that these youths can come on board. The youths can come on board. I listen to Matt sometimes and people talk about you need a CO truck, you need a disc truck, you need to come and play some loud music and bring a band. That's garbage. That's garbage. That's an absence of vision. You understand? You look at the issues critically and you plan for them and you exploit them. And Roosevelt Scary has been giving us an amplitude of issues that we can exploit, and we don't exploit them. We don't exploit them because we always personalize the issue. We bring it back to Roosevelt Scary. Forget about personalizing the issue. Take the issue and diverge it towards the community and the people that it impacts. Diverge it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because they are societal issues.
Right.
The societal issues. You cannot tell me today in Dominica, bro, after what happened to Salisbury, after what happened to us with Mia, I'm not even talking about Ross because I don't blame Mia for Ross. You know what I mean? I don't blame Mia for Ross. Let's just get that clear. I blame Mia for RSS. I blame Mia for a lack of integrity and a few other things. But I don't blame Mia for Ross. Tell you straight up. That's not my argument. But you cannot tell me, bro, that today in Dominica, we get this stage, bro. This stage, a stage we get, you know, bro. A big stage, you know, a regional stage, an international stage for us to make a statement. And we cannot make a statement. Come on, man. And man, tell me about politics and opposition and this, that, and that's that, and that's that. Bro.
Zed, Let's take a little break. Let's see if we can facilitate a caller to here. Caller, good evening. Civic Vibes, you're on. 7:30 is the time.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, Matt. Yes. Lofty, sorry. Hey, Lofty, I was listening to you all. Yeah. We need. You see, what Zed is bringing some real important points. And this is basically the same thing. Most times, and he's trying to bring a level of knowledge to. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear. Go on. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
A level of knowledge. But I think what we need is a ground movement. We're all political opposition leaders, whether you have a political party, whether you oppose to the system, to the policies of that regime. We need a team of persons that can educate, that can go to the different villages and the different outside areas out of Roseau, that can educate. When you have one or two persons going down to play a little domino, so it's not working. We need a team to come together and educate the people and be in different villages at different time. Let them see if it's 20 fellas, if it's 15 fellas, they have to make time to talk to the people on the ground and get a ground movement. That's what happened in the 70s. Because we did not have all them smartphones and stuff. You find when them guys come to play football at the Windsor Park, the time of Patrick John and them guys meet, them guys discuss issues, and them guys create plans. That is the same system that have to work now. You understand? Yes, what Zed is saying, it make a lot of sense, and everybody's saying, but unless we can have, say, for instance, Thompson Fountain, Lennox, and Basso, and all these people that really want a better Dominica can come together. They go to Grand Bay, they go to St. Joseph, they go another day, they another place. They start to meet the people.
All right. So caller, just to interact with you there, what do you suggest when this group of people meet and they go on the ground? What are the issues that the people need to talk to or talk with the people about?
Talk about issues. They talk about issues, the real thing to bring change. You said something about cost of living. That's a major point. He talk about the issue with the Barbados Prime Minister. Can you imagine they meet and we discuss. We talk about growth, all the ills that Skerrit is doing. These are the things we have to talk about. The things that are not that are in our faces, that are not handled and managed, and we ignore it as opposition people that want a better Dominica. For instance, the garbage issue. There's many things we can talk about that the opposition can come together and keep scaring them out of it, but talk about the issues that are affecting the development and the betterment of our people.
All right. So, caller, just to ask you one more bit here before you let off the hook here. In terms of the discussions that you are suggesting, which is fine. How now do you propose that after having those discussions, we saturate the ground with those kind of bread and butter issues? How now do we take that conversation and convert it into the next level in terms of representing these people's needs? That is where we are stuck, caller. How do you propose that?
Listen again. That's why the representation will come. These are the same people that come. Look at Patrick John and that crowd that time, and we were showing a different time. You find the communication was with the roots man. They were communicating. Leaders are automatically born when you start to communicate. People grow confidence in people. You understand? Not every.
So you're talking about basically out of those conversations, the leaders will emerge.
Yes.
All right.
You will see as a team, you will realize who is stronger, what is strong, and where things happen. So now you have a larger network with the whole island.
All right, caller. Thank you very much for your much succinct point. Well taken, well made. Zed, you're on. Yes, good evening. Thank you, caller.
Yeah, brother, you understand the process collectively. You see, the thing is organic, Lofty. When you do struggle, you don't worry about these things. You don't worry about these things. And that is the issue. People are concerning themselves too much with leadership. Too much with leadership. And we're putting excessive strain on individuals also. It's destructive either way. Struggle is an organic thing. Once you plan those things, you deal with the issues, you genuine the people, I'm telling you, bro, the youths them gonna come around you.
Mhm.
They're gonna coalesce around you. They're going to. That's just how struggle is. But when we always think it has to be led by this or it has to be led by that, the politics and the civic has to come together under a civic banner, Lofty. That is how you fight dictatorships. You go around the world, you study dictatorial processes and how you remove them. That is standard. The political process is the most difficult process to dislodge a dictatorship. The most difficult process is the political process. The easiest path is civil build-up, civic build-up of citizenry, because why? A dictatorship is affecting all the citizens. Even those who support the dictatorship are affected by the dictatorship. So they will come, and they will come when they see enough civic build-up has taken place. So you build, and people worry about small crowds. Don't worry about small crowds. Just keep building. Just keep building.
Let me ask you, Zeddy, let me ask you, who and how is that conversation taken to the average man on the street?
Well, I would love to be on the ground. What it has to do, Alvin, is the environment has to be created. The environment we have now in Dominica is counter because we're waiting on the politicians to do act on our behalf. That is the mistake in Dominica. Lofty just spoke to you about Antigua. The Antiguans did not wait for the politicians to come and speak on their behalf, you know. You talked about the lawyers. Let's engage these lawyers. And I'm happy that they did that presentation. Let's engage them. Let's try to have town hall meetings with them. You know, let us show them people different from the politicians for a minute. Different. Let the politicians come as civic entities. Let them come and speak in their societies as constituents. You know, every time we load it up as a political environment, it is already antagonistic because we're in a polarized society, my brother. That's what we have. So we have to plan around that. Let us have more civic engagements, more town halls where it's more for collective other people, make them feel comfortable to start speaking. This thing grows like wildfire, you know. That's how it is, you know.
No, I hear you, but the town hall that you're talking about and the engagement of the young persons and what Lofty talk about, who they already know for the last 25 years, does not happen in a vacuum. It has to be some body or bodies. It has to be, in other words, who's going to go to this guy on the block in St. Joseph in Grand Bay to talk about the bread and butter issues? The politicians, as we say, the opposition forces have their own personal agenda, and it's not helping the cause. But we have to go.
Alvin,
yes.
let me tell you. Let me answer that question. I am ready, willing, and available to be part of that movement.
Okay.
A matter of fact, I am part of that movement already.
Great.
That is part of my duty, civic duty. That is
the DNA, yes,
to my people in Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So talking about people leading it or people being part of it, there are people that I know, you know, will be willing to be part and parcel of that. What is happening, Alvin, on the ground?
Yes.
I can tell you straight up,
yes,
is that once that conversation gets off the ground,
mm-hmm.
you have people who are in these quote-unquote prestigious positions who don't want anybody to mess with their position. So you have that kind of kickback. You have that kind of pushback.
So how do we get them out of the way?
A reality.
How do we get them out of the way and focus and do what you and I have to do?
I don't think we should worry about getting them out of the way. It's going to be antagonistic. I wouldn't. You see, we just talked about the lawyer, right? The lawyers. Let me tell you, I can promise you,
mm-hmm.
if a political party goes to La Plaine, you have a political meeting right now, and you have a legal conversation of a collective of lawyers organized to go to La Plaine to have a conversation with the people on their legal empowerment and these conditions and these laws. I can promise you, we can document both of these meetings, and I can tell you which one of them is going to be more popular. I can tell you which of them is going to be more popular. The issues are what is going to create the glue, Alvin. Not the individual.
No. Zeddy, I am on that same page with you.
Yeah.
My question, and I'm doing devil's advocate.
The
My
issues.
question is, we have talked about it, I'm sure, before now. And the question remains, when are we going to get it done and get it done? Now, I love to talk about those that will try to oppose it and try to not to want it to see it happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about
How
those.
do we, if fight back is the right word, I'm not sure, I'm trying to find the correct word. How do we dismiss or disregard and continue where we're supposed to go with that?
Yeah, like I said, man.
Yeah, that's the question.
Let us take the issues and coalesce around them. For instance, look at the issue. Look at the issue of employment, bro.
We know that. We understand that.
So that's a perfect issue for a young people conversation.
Absolutely. So when are we going to start?
So you create that. And the youths are there, you know. Trust me, the youths are there, you know.
I know that too. I know that. We had a program this Thursday, for example.
Exactly.
And one of the young persons on the attending made the point. He came in and he said, "Hey guys, I hear been talking about the youth. It's not all the youth that in CIVO, you know." He made that point. He said, "I am on the ground. I'm a young person, and I know what I know, and I know the individual who spoke. He's in fact on the ground." So I agree with you that the young people are not as uninformed or unengaged as we thought it is. But when do we begin now? Those of us, take out the word leader for now, those of us who understand how the movement should work are prepared to go out there and just make it happen. Like Nike saying there, just do it.
Alvin,
do it.
Alvin, right at that same table, one of the politicians could be there, you know, and talking about how we plan to solve your issues as young people. Right there, you know, in that very conversation, you know, one of the political people could be at that table, you know, and address a solution process to the youth, in the youth, not on a political platform now, but as a citizenry. You understand? And talk about, you know, how, and so those kinds of things, because when we have them from a direct political platform, they are automatically antagonistic. You understand? So we have to find a path that is not antagonistic, that opens up the way, and at the end of the day, the politicians win. But they need to understand that the entry to the people is not a political entry because of the antagonization of the society. It is a civic entry, and in that civic entry, they can fit.
All right, Jordan Ballot is making a fundamental point here around the lines Alvin was talking. She said here, enough talk. It is time to show the people working with them, it is time to show the people by working with them and broadcasting it. She says the era of empty promises is over.
Love it.
What the people need now is not more words. They need proof that you care.
Love it.
If you're working on their behalf, show them. If you're fighting for their future, prove it. Work with them. If you truly care, let it be seen in your actions. Let the people witness more than debate. Let them witness results. That person said, finally, care must be seen, not just be spoken, because the people are no longer listening for promises. They're listening for progress.
Love it.
Very well said indeed.
Love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's echoing exactly what I'm saying. She's echoing exactly what I'm saying. And that's the approach we have to take. I mean, I know Zed is talking a lot and making the point on the civic engagement and all of that. And one of the things that we all will have to admit is that the civic engagement that existed, say in the 70s or 80s, is not what it is today. I mean, the whole climate has changed a little. And
Alvin, go ahead.
Yeah. And again, if I may just go back to the Thursday conversation we had, I think it was Afi who made the point that that a lot of institutions are dismantled, not necessarily institutions per se, but persons within the institution are dismantled. And that's normally what happens in a dictatorship. I mean, if those of us who go back and study Hitler and tyrants see that they dismantle all those institutions, the press, the church, the business, the media.
Alvin, I'm a man of action. I'm a man of action, Alvin. And so we are having this conversation tonight. And I am putting myself at the mercy of the Dominican people. I'm putting myself through the slaughterhouse, as it were. So here we are having that conversation. So why not put our words into action tonight by starting the action right here? Let us call some people, put a group of people together and decide what day we go out. Zed, over there, you're a very good mobilizer. And so Zed is right there. Zed, you need now to put your talk into action and commit to that so that next week, Wednesday, Thursday, next month, whatever it is, we will have this body going out in the communities and doing the work. And let's see how it work out. That is what we have to do, because you know, just talking about it and leaving it for somebody else to do, that has been our problem, and so things never get done. So I am committing myself.
If I was on the ground, I wouldn't leave it for anybody else to do it.
Yeah, but Zed, remember, you are a good mobilizer, as I said. You being on the ground or not on the ground does not make you any less or more effective. No,
that's true. That's true.
We see you at work already. We know you at work. You have a lot of contacts. Obviously, we need some resources. We need a system. We need whatever it is. And let's get the ball rolling.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to go.
I am for it too.
I've been there, done that. That is part of my duty, my brother.
We know.
Let's get the ball rolling.
We know of your engagement and involvement on the ground. And
that is it.
No doubt that you are someone that is prepared to step out and do what needs to be done.
Yeah, we have a comment from Annette Carter here. She says, we have a greedy populace. What can I get? Money, house, scholarship, etc. They know the truth. They know all about the misappropriation of funds, all the volet, that person says. Let me see that. They all want to know what you're offering me. That is a question we should that is a question we should be ready to answer. Yes, Annette, I understand that has been the mantra for some time, but we need to shift that kind of mantra. Let us kind of dovetail that conversation in a new direction and sort of be more inspirational, be more motivational. Because a lot of people, when you go out there, as I said, when I hear some of the stories out there, I sometimes feel very sorry for some of these people. When you go in the ghetto, Alvin, when you go into a place of work, people are working, and we have the working poor in Dominica. You have people who are making $1,000 just about their month, and their bills, nothing extravagant, nothing out of want. Their needs add up to more than $1,000. What are you going to tell that young woman or that young man? You have children going to school. I have a boy going to school, Alvin, still, in Dominica, that is. And I mean to say, the amount of monies I have to put out for that young boy going to school, I am wondering persons who have 2 and 3. Right. Persons who have 2 and 3 and have to spend that same amount of money. Breakfast, lunch, supper, transportation, rent, whatever it is, your bills. It is real and pressing, and our monies are not in alignment with the rate of price increase in Dominica. A tin of tuna, Zed, in Dominica used to be poor people's food before. So $1.90, $1.80, $1.75, $1.50 thereabout, based on the brand. Today, Zed Lloyd, Alvin, a tin of tuna in this country is pretty close to $6 EC. Wow. And so that is no longer considered to be poor people's food. Caller, just hold on. We'll get to you in just a bit. That is no longer to be poor people's food. We're talking about the basic commodities: rice, flour, sugar, milk, butter. Every day, a 10 cents, a 5 cents, or whatever it is, goes up on these commodities. And so how is it that the common man have to survive in this country? We're not talking about living, surviving. And it is really stressful, Zed. And I know there are a number of people out there who wants to breathe. They want to breathe because they are just in this perpetual mode of poverty for so long. We talk about obesity in this country. We talk about people in Dominica cannot, I repeat, the majority cannot go on the regular doctor checkups, health checkups. Anytime you step foot in a doctor office now, it is 120 EC plus. Somebody will sacrifice that 100 EC for their health, which is detrimental in the long run. And they will feed themselves, they'll feed their child. That is the decision they have to make.
Look, the thing about...
And so that is our realities. Let us just take this caller who is there has been waiting for something. Caller, yes, good evening. Sorry for holding.
Yes, Loftus.
Yes.
Loftus, I glad the points you bring across. Now, that's what I was talking about. You see, most of the things you said there, which is a reality on the ground, this is why we need a movement, a ground movement. Because I will tell you, Lofty, if someone is getting $400 or $500 out of, say, out of a Skerrit or one of his, or the Palrep, they're not going to turn their back on that because they know this situation. They need 1,000, but they're getting 400. They're not going to turn it. You know what we need? These people we need to get in touch with these people one-on-one, a group of leaders or associates or whatever I should use, and educate them. Let them know that with their right support and with the team of persons that want a better Dominica, that yes, you are getting that $400, but we can assure you with our development plans and with the direction we want to go, that listen, you will not be receiving $400. You'll be able to work and achieve $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. There will be plans. We come to them. We discuss with them, not just on the radio, not just going on screening and call them when we need them. We have to be with them. We have to discuss with them. We have to come to their homes, to the playing grounds, to the ghetto, to the Domino House, not just as one individual representing a political party or an organization, but as a team, as a group of people. Say like 7, 8, 9, 10 members of different groups or association or political party or whatever that oppose and know the ills of what happening in Dominica can come around.
Caller,
meet with the people.
Are you willing? Are you willing to put your money where your mouth is? Just a very direct question to you.
I've always done my best
in terms of helping that ground movement get off the ground.
I will tell you something, Loftus. I'll tell you something about me, Lofty. I just love Dominica. And I just feel sorry, especially from the man that do not have an opportunity to see success over and want to work to achieve. Because it had it 25 years ago. It had it. I saw poor people who was rising. I saw young persons that did not have nothing, get a laptop and was selling cars and trying to create their own employment. I saw houses on pillars where people were building and the children were going downstairs and leave. I saw it, my brother, and it hurt me to my core. Right now, as a poor man, that know that there are individuals and persons in Dominica, the young, the middle-aged, and the older, that want a better Dominica, but they don't see a direction because the opposition, and the opposition is not just a political party, you know. The opposition is a broaden. It's a broad aspect of the society. Not coming and strategizing and doing it the right way.
So, caller, the question to you is still on the table. Are you willing to support? Put your money where your mouth is.
I said to you, I have always been supporting in whatever way and how I can. I could tell you something. If I would rather be in Dominica living and moving on than being here in the States. I've learned a lot, and I'm going a little personal. I've learned a lot more when it comes for knowledge by being up there. And what I've learned here, if I knew it like 20 years ago, I would have been further. I have a lot I can offer that, especially a young man want to grow up and create his own employment. Yes, I am willing, but we have to strategize.
All right, caller, thank you very much. You are willing, and so
we need to talk, man. We need to talk.
Yeah, we will talk. We will talk.
You know, me
that's understandable, my brother. Thank you very much for your willingness. Yes,
Lofty, you see,
we're gonna sort of open up the conversation. We have a clip to play from you that is pending in just a bit, and then we have to hear from Alvin himself as to what is happening in the courts, re-elections, and whatever. You know, we just have to kind of vary the conversation in that direction in just a bit. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to tell the caller and to those who are making their points of views. For instance, right, Lofty, look at the taxation on the port. It affects everybody. Okay, everybody. So it is much easier for you to build a movement challenging the government on that tariff on the port that benefits everybody than for you trying to be doing something individualistic to build, you know. So the issues and how you take them and how you package them as critical as the struggle itself, you know. So part of those things is choosing what you choose, choosing the topic that you're going to build a movement around, packaging it. You know, it's science to it, all of tea. So the tariff thing, it affects everybody. It's crazy. It's super expensive. You know, poor people used to be able to go Guadeloupe, open a little business. All the youth them in the ghetto feeling that. All them that listening to Booyo, all them that in everything, they know the reality of that. So it's much easier for you to build a movement about calling for a reduction of tariffs. You take small victories and you build. And as you build capital, you build more victories. That is how civic struggle works.
Indeed. Alvin, any points before we punch that audio from Zed as we broaden the conversation in a bit?
No, I think we have unpacked quite a bit this afternoon. I mean, you know, some of what we have said there this evening is not new to our Civic Vibes platform. At the end of the day, change needs to happen. I mean,
Needs to happen.
I sit here outside, physically outside of Dominica, but that doesn't mean I'm uninformed as to what's happening on the ground. Some people have the impression because I'm outside of Dominica ZNS, we are uninformed, but most times, if you ask me, Lofty, we are sometimes even more informed than those that are in Dominica. There are many times I share information with folks back home that I get in terms of certain things, and they say, really? I didn't know that. I say, yeah. So I think the point remains, of course, is how do we get the people engaged? There is one group of persons, and you'll hear it from me every time I'm on this program, you'll hear it. I'm not going to stop mentioning it. And that's the young people. That's the young people. They are the ones that are going to bring about the change that we need in Dominica. I don't care whether we agree or disagree or like it or not. They are the ones that's going to bring the change. Let me tell you, back in the 70s, when we had, again, we just observed 79, May 79. Do you know Oliver Serafin, who took over as the interim prime minister, was only 35 years old? 35. He wasn't even 40 yet. Do you know Afi Mate was under 40? Do you know that Alvin Thomas, who had maybe a little part in it, was under 40? Do you know that Charles Savre was under 40? Charles Savre is 81 years old today. And 46 years ago, right? Charles Savre was 35 years old. All of those persons, Curtis Augustus, I mean, the name goes on and on that were involved in that were under 40. So I'm saying that the young people today have to take on the mantle. And how do we get that message? How do we get them engaged? How do we meet them on the block? Like, again, I heard Mia in a statement she made sometime earlier, not too long ago. She said, we need to get to the people on the block. Yes, yeah, on the block.
We'll get to that statement in just a while, Alvin, but let's take the first one in the interest of time from Zed. Let's see if we can cue that up. Let our people hear Brother Zed Lloyd's voice in terms of his utterances as we sort of broaden the conversation a bit. And then we'll have some discussion on that. Punch the one of Mia and Alvin, you will sort of wrap it up as to, what is afoot in the legal circles in Dominica re our electoral process. Let's see if we can cue up that Zed voice at this time.
From Africa to the Caribbean, the story remains the same. After a 75-year history of neo-colonial independence movements, what we have amassed across the entire spectrum from Africa to the diaspora is largely a landscape of political wastage that's filled with politicians who essentially use the loopholes within the colonial political systems that our European colonial masters left us to build themselves into cult-like dynasties. Through a pattern of political manipulation, the over-militarization of law and order entities, a slaved control of the judiciary for a skewed appointment process, and a daily mission of weaponizing the very conditions of poverty of the people against themselves, these post-colonial elites have created a cultural dynamic of systemic fear that immobilizes the citizenry into a compliant mass that acts against their self-interest while silently existing in a state of daily anguish. Sadly, this misuse of governance does not only ensure decades of an unchanging electoral result, it goes deeper. The very pathology of the people are transformed over time into an internalized hatred that eventually results not just in a collective sense of communal hatred and crime, but in a medical catastrophe that gives rise to a plethora of mental and biological stress and its resulting explosion of an unhealthy nation. In other words, this culture of exploitative governance does not only result in the enrichment of a select few, it results in much worse. It dictates a desolate reality, not just for those who participate in its compliance, but even for the generations yet unborn. The situation has gotten so dire that instead of becoming a post-slavery collective of African empowerment, we find an ever-increasing crescendo of regret and an alarming longing for the old order of colonial administration of our laws and governance structures. The sentiments say it loudly: we ourselves have failed ourselves. And it is not as if we have not had shining examples of the right way. From Nkrumah to Sankara, from the Emperor to Garvey, from Malcolm to Rodney, from Biko to Dr. Williams, from Martin to Fidel, the examples are rich and exemplary in substance. Yet, here we are at this regretful and poignant juncture. Our efforts at unified bodies of federation, economics, health, judicial, and the arrival at that mature state of functioning as a power block within the global power apparatus has been found wanting. And what is even more disastrous is our failure at solving problems within our very own collective of nations. As we take the argument closer afield, we see a Caribbean scenario of a group of nations hovering at several generations of largely educated leadership, coming to a larger extent from less affluent backgrounds and having a first-hand experience of the conditions of struggle in our small societies, and still end up being the very custodians of a corrupt culture of governance that worsens the state of poverty and destitution of these very societies. This aggregate of jokers who amassed an unprecedented level of loans and grants from international governments and aid agencies not only have very little to show for it in terms of the welfare of the people, but they brazenly enjoy a level of opulence and materialistic grandeur that far surpasses the excesses of colonial caretakers. What troubles even more is that this wave of homegrown leaders are lawyers by and large, and instead of leading the transformation of that British legal system in areas such as land reformation, antitrust legislation to avoid hegemonization of business sectors, electoral reform architectures that would serve to hasten our trajectory towards a more just democracy, and more importantly, a regional and internal judicial mandate that at the very least stands shoulder to shoulder with the colonial model that it replaced. These children of slave heritage have instead emboldened themselves in the very opposite. And so here we are, if not one prime minister being bothered by this injustice of having no fixed date for elections. A regional body of nations, and only 2 of those nations have had the audacity to attempt this troubling dynamic of campaign finance reform. Not even the independence of electioneering bodies are being actively preserved by these jokers. We had the amendments to our colonial constitutions. Why haven't we created more independent bodies to engage in the nomination of critical personnel within our democratic architecture so that civic society can hold more sway in the decision-making process of our democracy? My people, as we enter this era of challenges ranging from an apparent encroachment of a new colonizer, a world that is slowly limiting our avenues to international growth and resources, and a troubling disconnect between the lifestyles of our leaders and that of citizenry, it is becoming ever more critical that the voices of reason, and especially the few of independent means, really look into the mirror and realize that the luxury of time has already passed us. The state of political polarization that has been around us is slowly suffocating our ability to breathe democratically. Even the enjoyment of the honest fruits of our labor at risk in this perilous dispensation. It is not even an issue of simply standing on behalf of others anymore. It has become an issue of needing to stand even for the preservation of self. Even for the preservation of self. In a society where the politicians have been continually eroding our ability to exist on behalf of ourselves and on behalf of our fellow brothers and sisters, standing up has become the only option that we have left. Standing up has become the only option that we have left.
The only options that we have left is standing up for and on behalf of ourselves. You just want to, elaborate just a bit your thoughts when you voiced those words earlier this week, Zed, as we're moving on here.
Well, the region, I was thinking of the region, and I think Mia's and everything just amplified what I said. Even look at Gonzalez. Gonzalez is the ultimate hypocrite, The ultimate hypocrite. Look at the level of legal expertise and wisdom this man has, bro. And he's only speaking when his chances of election and those things are being threatened by that CBI and by all these things, he could have been leading the regional initiative on transformation of our democracies if he were a really an honest individual and really, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. We have this homegrown intellectual cadre who are involved in the suppression of the very communities from which they come. Across and Africa, the same thing. It's just a whole bunch of children of slaves who have lost sight of what they came into politics for, which was to transform these very societies to a betterment of life for poor people. And that is lost, that is lost.
Yeah. Yes, Alvin, any thoughts before we move on to Mia's speech before we bring it to wrap in just a bit? Thank you, Zed. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, no, I think Zed crowns it in the end. The last line he says there. The politicians of today don't understand why they get into politics. What drives them into politics? What was the basic reason for them getting into politics? And that is the intention ought to be to change the lives of people, to make people's lives better, to make, the lives of the citizens of the country better. But apparently that has gotten lost along the way. And they get in there to enrich themselves. A guy gets in there with zero to hero. He gets in there as a pauper, and within 5 years, he's a millionaire. And that is the sad part. While the rest of the citizens remain poor health system, poor education system, garbage cannot be taken away from them, leptospirosis attacking them, health issues attacking them, you name it. And that is very unfortunate. And I think he's right in the end to say the only way that can end is for the people to stand up. Stand up and fight back. And history has shown many people decide to stand up and fight back, they will succeed. Tyrants and dictators have been brought down before, and it can still happen again.
Yeah, what a conversation we're having tonight. Just before we queue up, people, the other voice note, as it were, from Mia. There is one I just want to play from my end here. Something emanating out of the discussion tonight at Dubla. I said it would be very, very interesting so that the listening public could hear in their own voice what Mia, the featured speaker, had to tell Dominicans tonight. Zed, we may have to come back next week to discuss what I'm going to play.
Sure.
But just take a little listen for now.
Sure.
Study it. If you deprive from people the right to grow their own food, they're going to suck salt. If you deprive from people the right to be able to earn a living and get a job, they're going to suck salt. And if you take food from people and you take jobs from people, and you take hope from people, you effectively destroy the area in which the people are living. I ask you to go there.
Let Mia's words be saturated in you guys being, those of you listening out there. Here the Prime Minister of Barbados speaking to Dominicans tonight.
To study it. If you deprive from people the right to grow their own food, they're going to suck salt. If you deprive from people the right to be able to earn a living and get a job, they're going to suck salt. And if you take food from people, and you take jobs from people, and you take hope from people, you effectively destroy the area in which the people are living. I ask you to go there.
One more time, people. One more time.
Study it. If you deprive from people the right to grow their own food, they're going to suck salt. If you deprive from people the right to be able to earn a living and get a job, they're going to suck salt. And if you take food from people, and you take jobs from people, and you take hope from people, you effectively destroy the area in which the people are living.
So,
I ask you.
We definitely have to have our part too.
Yeah, we will definitely need. But so Lofty, it goes back to our conversation as we start off.
Exactly.
There is so much there available. Ammunitions to fight the war. I mean, that statement alone should be enough for the movement to take and run with it the length and breadth of Dominica.
I'm telling you.
So I don't know. I'm wondering whether she was offered a drink before she spoke.
Zed, your initial comments. Alvin, thank you.
They put something in the drink for her.
I hope it's not a BB, eh?
There was nothing in the drink, man. You see, me as an intellect, and the movement that happened this week, trust me, she wasn't responding, but she was listening. And she knew she had to deliver in a sort of concordant manner. The world was listening, and that's why I told you. That's what really hurt me all this week, is we missed a brilliant opportunity to put Dominica's message internationally. If we come from post-March 19th and the kind of international globalization we struggle to give this thing on Dominica, today was supposed to be the culmination. Culmination. You know what I'm saying?
She have said, Zed, she have said it for us.
Yeah, but we should have said it ourselves. The world should have seen that the people of Dominica are aggrieved.
Well, that is true. I agree. You know? But I've learned in my few years on the face of this earth, sometimes they say every disappointment is a blessing. You know, as to how you interpret that. But I mean, that one-liner, or if you even want to call it a two-liner, yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy lifting, boy.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that aspect tonight. We'll get back to that in another conversation. Let's queue up the one that we really had to discuss tonight, where Mia is talking about accountability, and then Alvin will give us, some of the information that is taking place in the court as we speak before we bring it to a wrap just about 8:30 tonight. Let's queue up the next of Mia.
The voices of accountability. This beacon encourages every Bajan to speak up and take responsibility when they see something going wrong in this country, in their community, in their houses, in their jobs. It embodies the idea that accountability isn't just for leaders, but for every citizen. Tanya Stevens reminds us of corruption in high and low places only to remind us that because we have a colonial mentality, we see only the oppression that is above us and not the oppression that is among us. Creating a culture of silence in the face of patent wrongdoing is not just acceptable, it is dangerous and it is destructive. And speaking up respectfully and, more importantly, speaking truth becomes a civic duty of every citizen of this country and everyone who chooses to want to live among us, even though not a citizen. This applies, my friends, to whether we're talking about what happens in our home, our workplace, the church, the community, or even the block, especially the block. There is nothing to be gained through remaining silent when we know better. And to say I shoulda, I coulda, I didn't. Regret cannot be the platform to this country's stability, harmony, or prosperity.
All right, guys, your take as we bring down things in just a bit. Your take, Zed, based on Mia's utterances.
Well, Mia's on point. She's on point. She's on point. Like I said, my contention around the entire Mia issue is our inability to exploit the Mia opportunity. I think Mia coming to Dominica was the perfect opportunity for Dominica. The perfect opportunity from 2019 to now. This visit by Mia Motley was the best opportunity that all opposition forces had for the struggle, the best opportunity. And we did not utilize it. Yeah, I cannot say any more than that. That is all I'm going to say on that, bro.
All right, thank you. Alvin, your thoughts, really comments?
Well, I mean, what can I say? I mean, she said it as it is, as it should be. I mean, as she said, to remain silent at patent wrongdoing is dangerous. And that can't be. I mean, she could have said it better than that. And what do we do?
Alvin, a question to you and Zed, as you on that. We know it's a fact. Skerrit is not as intellectually capable as Mia. That's a fact.
True.
But Alvin, Zed, do you think Skerrit could deliver a speech in those, not those words really, but in those tone and gesture to Dominicans?
No.
Why do you think so, Alvin?
Because like you just said, he's not as astute and intellect and bright as Mia. And not only that, I think what we have seen over the years is a total disrespect. He's good at disrespecting Dominicans. And Dominicans are good at accepting that disrespect and remaining silent when that disrespect is meted out on them.
Thank you for your answer, Alvin. And you're spot on. I want to take that from the different spectrum now, from the different end, and said, I'm listening to Mia, Alvin, Zed, and I am listening to a leader who is speaking to the Bajans who are much more politically astute than Dominicans. I say that without reservation.
True.
So here is Skerrit would say something like that along the lines to Dominicans, taking out his not, removing his lack of intellectual to deliver in such words. But a mepui would come in the Alvin. Some kind of castigation would come in. Some kind of a foul language would have come in. The disrespect.
The disrespect. That's why.
But here is Mia Zed talking to a people that know if she mess around in that department, they will put her in a place and beat her at the polls. And so the disrespect, as Alvin said in one word, it continues in Dominica. So I heard that from Mia, and I was thinking of the audience she was speaking about. And I pray and hope that our audience in Dominica rise to that level one day, that our leaders will come up to scratch.
Roosevelt could never be a prime minister in Barbados, Lofty. You understand? Roosevelt could never be a prime minister in Barbados. You understand? So it's the environment, you know, it's the environment. And the Dominican environment has been conditioned to accept Roosevelt's garbage. And you know, so that is the reality. But like I said, at the same time, we could have countered Roosevelt by not focusing so much on Roosevelt. By over-focusing on Roosevelt, we allowed Roosevelt to cultivate that culture in Dominica. And so that has been a big part of that problem. For the last 20-something years, we have made Roosevelt scary, the focus of everything. And so we have amplified him to the status of God through our process of focusing on he as an individual instead of addressing the issues, addressing the conditions, addressing the bread and butter issues, instead of addressing Roosevelt. We made him God. We made him God.
Indeed. Zed, any final comments, final points you want to zero in on or nail in before, you know, we part ways?
And I just want to ask the people, man, to the whole idea of thinking that you cannot stand up for your rights, you know, because of the laws and the government. Universally, bro, as long as you are standing peacefully, bro, you can come out and stand. And I'm calling on the people in Dominica and these organizations and these political parties. We need to take the fear out of the people. We need to ensure we can do things peacefully. I know people call for trouble, but trouble is trouble. We need to build a peaceful understanding in the country that people can feel strength again to come out for their rights. We have to attempt it. We have to come back to it. We have to build it up. But let's do it peacefully, because I'm telling you, the best way to deal with dictators is to build and build and build until you have critical mass, and then you act.
True.
Peace
Alvin,
and
your
blessings.
final points. Give us what is happening in the court, you know, what
Well,
some people are doing, and then your final comments. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just say briefly, I agree with Zed. It was John Lewis, one of the activists of the 60s, along with Martin Luther, who said that there's good trouble. So you cause trouble, and there can be good trouble too. And we saw those of us who are familiar with the civil rights situation.
Talking about John Lewis, Alvin, you know, you mentioned the brother name, and I'm seeing him in you a little bit. It's just that you're a bit taller, yeah?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, good trouble. But let me just say quickly though, earlier on in the program, I did make the point that in any democracy, there are three areas that governs how a democracy works: the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. And I mean, take any democracy outside of a dictatorship. That's how it works. You have a legislature, people elected from the parliament, both opposition and government side. They comprise the legislature, they pass laws, they go in there, they adjudicate on behalf of the people. Then you have the executive. In some area of government, that could be headed by a president, like you have in Guyana. In our case, we do not have an executive president. And then you have that under the executive from the cabinet that does the day-to-day, whatever. And then you have the judiciary. And it's important because the laws that pass through the legislature that the executive have to put in place, if there is a problem in terms of application, constitutionality, and all that stuff, it goes to the judiciary. And they in turn have to determine and say, well, wait a while, hold up. Something is not right there. You're wrong, you're right, or whatever the case might be. And that's how it works in a democracy. So as it relates to the two last general elections, the 2019 and the 2022, it is the view held by citizens of Dominica that those elections were unconstitutional for a number of reasons, okay? In terms of the electors list, in terms of how it was conducted, in terms of who could and could not vote, there were gray areas that would need the attention of the judiciary. That's the only place it can go. If you have a problem, Lofty, as a citizen of Dominica, you have a right under the Constitution of Dominica, Lofty. any citizen of Dominica who has a problem and feel their rights to a grieve are broken, they have a right to take the matter to the courts. Where else would you take it, Lofty? You're going to fight? You're going to take up guns?
So is the matter in the court, Alvin?
So the matter is in the court, the 2019 and the 2022 elections. It was filed as of September of last year. I don't want to bore the people, we're running late, but just to say that there was a hearing held on the 12th of May. 12th of May, the matter was heard, that was the first hearing. And one side, which is the defendant side, wanted the matter striked out. The citizens, the 4 citizens that filed the matter before the court, their attorney on their behalf made an amendment to what was filed initially. The reason being that the laws that were passed on the 19th of March, there appears to be some constitutional breaches. And therefore, the earlier filing that was made had to be amended to take into account those areas of the new law that seems to be unconstitutional. So the judge issued an order. The defendant side wanted time to respond to that amended filing that was done by the claimants. The judge asked how much time you want. They said they could get at least 4 weeks. The judge agreed, gave them the 4 weeks to respond to that amended version that was filed and to put their arguments as to why they want this matter strike out. They're supposed to report on or before the 12th of June to the judge. Once they do that, the claimant now, the attorney side or side, have up to the 27th of June to rebuttal or to answer, to present to the judge, to the court, their arguments. The judge now will look at both arguments on the 30th of June, that is presented by both sides. And on the
27th, Julia.
27th of June.
Okay.
12th. I'm sorry, 30th. My bad. I'm sorry. My
30th.
apologies.
Okay.
12th of June, 27th of June, 30th of June. And once the judge looks at everything, she'll determine whether or not it goes to trial, and a trial date is set for the 15th of July. So come the 15th of July, there will be a hearing where the matter will be argued and one way or the other in the court, whatever will determine whether it proceeds further, whether it continue, whether it adjourn to another date, whatever the case might be. So that in terms of the timeline, the 12th, the 27th, the 30th, the 15th of July. And it's important to note too, let me just make one important note, which I should, that must be noted. In the declarations that have been sought from the court, presented by the claimants, there are some 18 declarations being sought, 18 in the matter that was filed. The number 12 in that, number 12 of that declaration states as follows, let me see if I get it there for you. It's right, yeah. Among the key declarations sought in the claim form is section 12, which requires, quote, an order granting an injunction restraining the defendants, whether by themselves or through their servants or agents, from holding general elections in the Commonwealth of Dominica on any date unless certain conditions are met. 1, the procedure for holding general election outlined in the House of Assembly Elections Act and any other relevant election laws of Dominica have been complied with. 2, the voters list has been verified and the names of ineligible voters removed. 3, all objections filed on or before the 19th of November 2019 to present and or within the time limit for so filing, whichever is later, are dealt with in accordance with the law. 3, voter ID cards have been issued only to eligible voters. And 4, that was 4, the voter's ID card. Consequently, no general election should be held in the Commonwealth of Dominica until this matter is resolved. Let me just say also that you may recall the CCJ issued a judgment back in 2020. I think it was 2022, July 5th, 2022. And this is what the CCJ, let me just remind folks, in case they forget, the CCJ in their final thoughts of that judgment that they issued said, however, there remains areas of grave concerns about how the process of these elections were conducted. And they were then referring to the elections of 2019. Grave concerns of how they were conducted. Future elections in Dominica ought not to proceed with these or similar things. That was the CCJ, the justices, the 5 justices say. Future elections should not be undertaken unless these things are removed. Notwithstanding that, you would recall in December of 2092, the DLP administration called a snap election. I just wanted to...
So Alvin, the pressing question on my mind, and I think on some people's mind, would be, would the document, the application, whatever it is you guys have in the court as we speak, would that be sufficient enough to prevent the Roosevelt-Skerrit-led administration to go ahead and call an election before the hearing of that matter and subsequent a decision?
Well, to answer you very bluntly, it requires that and people's action. 2, that and people's action. There need to be resistance, as I said on a program just this past weekend on Friday. There has to be resistance at every point. I will not sit here and tell you how to do it.
So I understand and the point of the resistant aspect of it, but would the document filed in the court, would that being in the court prevent or bar the government of the day from going ahead and call an election as
absolutely should? In other words, the DLP administration, the Labour Party administration, and let's just make a distinction there. It's not the government calling the election. The government is distinct, different from the Labour Party. So let's understand there. So it's not government calling the election. It's the Labour Party as a Labour Party decide. They're the administration in office. It would be disrespect to the courts. And if the Labour Party chooses to disrespect the courts in the manner that they choose to, like they have said before, no law, no constitution, it's left to see now how the other players in society are going to respond, including the people.
So Alvin, again, you choose the DLP language, which is Z in just a bit. Alvin, the question finally to you is, would the application before the court bar the DLP administration to call an election?
The answer is yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, point taken.
The answer is yes, but like everything else, the DLP administration can choose to ignore even what's before the courts. And if they choose to go down that road, the question remains now, who hold them responsible, accountable? To say to them, well, hey, you cannot just now disregard the courts.
Okay.
And let me also make another point. As far as who is in charge for holding general election, is the Electoral Commission, you know, Section 38 of the Constitution.
That's my question. So,
Section 38 of the Constitution is very clear. It's very clear who is responsible for calling elections. Okay? So whoever wants to prorogue the thing are free to prorogue what they want. But the Constitution of Dominica is absolutely clear. The Electoral Commission shall be responsible for the registration of voters for the purpose of electing representatives and for the conduct of elections of representatives and senators, and shall have such powers and other functions relating to the registration and elections.
Alvin, do
as
you
may be
see?
prescribed
Do
by
you
law.
see? Do you see in Dominica the Electoral Commission having the guts to not supervise an election when the house is broke? Do you see that? Is that a realistic call?
So let me answer you again, Lofty.
The commission we know in Dominica.
Lofty, let me answer you again. If the people feel that their constitutional rights under Section 30 of the Constitution have been violated, there are certain ways they can do to stop it.
Okay, so you punch it on the people. Yes,
there are certain ways to stop it.
All right.
Even the functioning of the Electoral Commission can be stopped.
All right. Thank you, Alvin. Thank you. Thank you, my brother.
Alvin, that's kind of where I wanted to go with you to ask you.
And we have to wrap it up.
Given that the head of the commission has been changed and the way and the structure and the organization of it, if that organization makes a vote in favor of an election, does the law supersede them or do they supersede the law?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. I missed you. If
the commission,
yes,
I understand the need for to meet the ramifications of what you're filing in the courts.
Right.
But if the commission decides that they're ready for an election, does that decision supersede the court as per Constitution?
No. If the commission decides that they are ready, we cannot override the commission saying that they're ready, because they have that power under Section 38. However, based on Clause 12, which is before the courts, that says that certain things need to be in place. That's where again it goes back there, like with the conversation we had earlier. This is not a matter that is in isolation from a legalistic point of view.
Okay, I guess
you see what I'm saying? That's just one aspect of how this matter should be pursued. There's the legal part of it, but there has to be the people's movement out of it. And if the people insist, and the people say, hey, no, you are violating certain things as far as the Constitution, then there's nothing left for them to do. But if everybody sits back, and it goes back to what Mia Motley says in her statement we just heard, it is dangerous to stay silent and don't do anything when you see something is wrong. So if we're saying it is wrong, based on what is before us, the CCJ said we should not have, since 2022, they said we should not have future elections until the teens. What are the teens? A corrupt list. Okay? No ID. That's the teens. So if we stay silent and do nothing, then obviously everything will go as usual. But Mia is saying it is dangerous to stay silent. And therefore, in addition to what is expected of the courts from a judicial point of view, the people now must act, not remain silent, take the appropriate action, otherwise it will be dangerous.
Point taken.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.
One love.
Yeah, man. Take care. All the best.
Yeah, man.
Politicians hold significant power. Shape the future for you and me. The right decision.
All right, folks, that is it. That is where we must bring the curtains down on thing for tonight. As we started with this one entitled Dream Killer from our sister Nashelle Walsh. So too we're gonna end.
Our ambition and potential to be the best we can be. So Mr. PM, what's going on?
So for all of you tuned in from the 6 o'clock hour tonight, thank you very much for eyes and ears each and every time.
And imagination.
Marceline Edwards, thank you very much in a very special way for making the first segment of the program what it was.
Gaia, I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer.
Brother Zed Lloyd.
We had plenty hope but now we can't cope.
The mobilizer, the motivator, the inspiration come from Brother Zed Lloyd for the second segment.
Help while you busy getting
Basically pushing the civic movement to deal with our plight in Dominica.
working for small money.
And yes, we pledge tonight to get it off the ground in some way, shape, or form.
We believed in you. No, what
All of you across the globe at this time and in Dominica,
made a lot of promises, fulfilling a few.
we always appreciate your company each and every Sunday from 6 o'clock. Gone a little above tonight. It's 8:40 at this time.
We have a dream.
So we do apologize, huh?
Oh, our children have a dream.
So see you next week, Sunday, same time, same place. With another topic of national importance.
Especially those who support the party. Them workers were blue bags that their parents gave you.
My friend Paula Celestine, good evening to you.
But every time Felicia come on Facebook Live, the thing she exposing makes me want to cry. And I wonder why you acting so sly.
So from the Civic Vibes team, Alvin, Thomas, and myself, Zed Lloyd, Marcelin Edwards, we're saying bye-bye. We love you.
A comfort to a fool. Some cannot graduate. You don't pay the school. All we hear is excuses and more promises while the students down on their knees. Call you a big trickster. I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer. We had plenty hope, but now we can't cope. You're a dream killer. Disregard of mental health while you busy gaining wealth. You're a dream killer. Some in NEP, working for small money. You're a dream killer. You present a lot of things, we believed in you. Now our life passing by, nothing coming through. It is so embarrassing while you there smiling. The debts are grumbling, the college waiting. Hey. Oh, Felicia had a dream. I have a dream. With hard work and determination, we can reach our destination through access to capital, education, and mentorship. But consider yourself as a young man stuck in the cycle of stagnation, where corruption creates limitations and overwhelming sense of frustration. Every day he faces the harsh reality. He cannot provide for his family, losing his dignity and his sanity while still waiting for his opportunity. Some call you a bloodsucker, I call you a heartbreaker and a dream killer. We had plenty hope, but now we can't cope. You're a dream killer. Disregard of mental health while you busy gaining wealth. You're a dream killer. Some in NEP, working for small money. You're a dream killer. You present a lot of things, we believed in you. Now our life passing by, nothing coming through. Who can run will run, who cannot will stay. Waiting for election day to get a payday. Oh, we have a dream. We have a dream.